Hello and welcome back to Sportsnet. Lakers driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. Chris McGee, Robert Ory, James Worthy, Allie Clifton will join us in a little bit. We got Brez and Trudell down at Staples. The Lakers lose to the Clippers. It's a game where the Lakers never led. Every time they had a chance, whether they were down 2, 1, or tied, they didn't execute when they had the opportunity, and the Clippers always had an answer. Clippers hit 16 threes, 3 straight in the final minute. Big game, James. Got to give them the credit.
I mean, yeah, the Clippers executed well. I mean, they took what the Lakers gave them down the stretch. I thought the Lakers had their chances. You know, I thought the spin move by Westbrook, that was, you know, I think they should have probably waited a little bit and kind of let the offense flow a little bit. I think double teaming early on Paul George, I would have let him hurt me a couple times before I obviously. He could see you coming, and then to leave Kennard open was a little bit strange for me down the stretch, the way they allowed him to close the game out. So they're just not connected defensively, and that's costing them games.
And we're not in the huddle, whether it's a blown assignment or rotating too late or the Clippers just moving the ball and finding the open man and then executing. Right, well, better down the stretch.
I think sometimes you go with the numbers. Paul George was 0 for 7 from 3. Yeah. Kennard was, 5 for 7 from 3? And you got to play the numbers. You got to understand who's hot, who's not. I know a lot of times everybody said the stars can take over. Trust in your defense sometimes. Trust in the man that's guarding him. He's had him 0 for 7 all game. Make him do something else. But, you know, they made some good plays down the stretch. The Clippers made some good plays. The Lakers just had no answer.
Rob, what did Shaq used to call you guys? You and Fish and
the
Fox,
others?
The others.
Yeah.
Harper, Bishaw. Tonight it was about the others for the Clippers. I mean, Paul George was 0 for 7 from 3. He did have 19 points. Reggie Jackson, those are their 2 stars. He was 2 for 7 from 3. He had 16, so they had fine games. But it was Luke Kennard who was 7 of 10. 5 of 8. It was Morris with 21. 6 of 9 from 3. It was Ibaka, 3 for 3 from 3. You're talking 14 of 20 from three-point land from those 3 guys.
Well, we said before the game that, you know, the Clippers, you know, Paul George is going to get his. But for the rest of the team, they had 5 or 6 guys that's averaging 8 to 10 points. So that's what they rely on. I mean, obviously, Paul George is going to get double teamed. They are ready for that. So when he was double teamed, their spacing was great. They moved the ball to the right people, and they got mostly uncontested shots. And so the Lakers defense was not up to par. 2 seconds late on rotations, or no rotations at all, have cost them on the defensive end. So, yeah, I mean, the Clippers executed well, and the Lakers executed poorly down the stretch.
When you lose a close game like this, you can blame it on a lot of things, right? There's a lot of areas that you look and say, well, if you were just better at that. I mean, free throws is always one that your eyes kind of go to first. Clippers were 21 of 24. Lakers were 13 of 21. Right there, they're plus 8 at the free throw line. Only plus 3 in attempts, but they made 8 more. Rob, the Lakers just 61% from the free throw line tonight.
Yeah, that's just been an Achilles heel off and on for the Lakers, the free throws. You know, we used to AD being perfect from that line. We used to LeBron being perfect from the line. These guys haven't been knocking down the threes. When you're in a close game like this, you got to knock down those threes because they're going to put you on the line. They're going to make you show because they're going to say, okay, you can't make threes down the stretch. Let's put you on the line and see what happens. Clippers played a good game, you know, but, you know.
This is one of those games where you look at the box score, James, it's a little frustrating, right? Points in the paint go to the Lakers, 54-36. The Lakers out-rebounded the Clippers by 9. The Lakers had 7 more offensive rebounds than the Clippers. The Clippers a little better in taking care of the basketball, only 10 turnovers. Lakers only 12. So both teams. Clippers bench was great, 42 points, but the Lakers bench was great with Malik Monk at 41 points. So very even there. Just a matter of execution down the stretch.
Game of executions.
Yeah.
And a game of timing, being a step late on your rotations. Rotating too early. You know, I think you sometimes you got to allow the offensive guy to get into his move and then kind of clamp him. It was just too obvious. They could see it coming, and they were ready for it. And it just they executed better down the stretch.
And they did. And in the beginning of that fourth quarter, Rob, when they kept separating, and the Lakers always had to kind of play that comeback game, it was the pick and roll that was killing the Lakers. It was that guy rotating and helping the helper. And they seem to just seem to be a step slow in that regard.
Yeah, and we got to think about it. Their two stars had 9 and 8 assists, Paul George and Jackson. Those guys was penetrating and putting the onus on the defense to do something. And when the defense came to help, they was dishing the ball. And those guys was in right position to catch and shoot. And that's what it's about, making quick, decisive moves. There's no playing around with the basketball. It's no letting the defense key in on their players. They made quick, decisive moves, got rid of it, and had great shots.
Absolutely, and I still think when the offense can see you coming, Paul George was out beyond the three-point line, and as soon as he caught the ball and took a dribble, they came at him very quickly, and he got rid of it very quickly, and so at that point the chase was on. So I just don't know about the quick double. I trust the defense one-on-one for a little bit before I break my defense down. So, I don't know. I guess they'll learn from it. 5
Lakers in double figures, 6 Clippers in double figures. So 11 players total tonight. Clippers end up getting the win, 119-115. Let's get you to the highlights. We got Lakers taking.
LeBron missed his 12th game of the season on Tuesday versus the Kings and was originally expected to miss at least a few more games. Now, here is a portion of the statement that the NBA released on LeBron's status, saying following 2 negative PCR tests conducted more than 24 hours apart, Los Angeles Lakers forward LeBron James has cleared the NBA's health and safety protocols. James was originally placed in the protocols on Tuesday, November 30, after a series of tests delivered conflicting results, including an initial positive test that was collected on November 29th. Additional testing confirmed that he is not a positive case. So, advancing that, guys, from a basketball standpoint, the Lakers were anticipating being without him for a minute. Rob, this changes that for all good measure. And when it comes to this season, having got off to a rocky start, we all know the story. This is great news.
It's great news. I know some guys like, man, I was going to get a couple more shots up. But it's great because right now, the last game that LeBron played, and they were gelling. They had like 23 points apiece out of the big 3. They was moving the basketball. They was playing good. And this is what we wanted to see out of them, how they were all coping together and playing well together, because we've been kind of waiting for this. We hadn't seen this yet. And this was the first time on the court that they had 20-plus points apiece. Think about LeBron and Westbrook almost had a triple-double on the same team. So we want to see this team. We're excited for it. We're glad he's back.
And when you think of it, Big Game, the Lakers have won their last 2. And you're talking building chemistry, still working on that momentum. That is a big opportunity and moment for this team now to get almost one step closer to whole with him in there.
Yeah, they are moving in the right direction. And even without LeBron the other night, they play very well. And that's also building good chemistry. When he comes back, they'll just continue, that good, optimistic, play that they've been, demonstrating of late. So this is a good time, to kind of, I want to see them run off 7 or 8 in a row. And I mean, I know that's a tough thing to do until they get everybody back and get, used to each other's tendencies, but I think that's what they are ready to do, given the fact that they've already struggled a little bit, players have already missed, get everybody back. They need to do something big, right before Christmas.
You look at the games they got coming up, like tonight, somebody you don't want in your building.
Right.
The next game, somebody you don't want even in NBA. So this is like all rival games to get that engine going, to start this uphill battle. And I look at these series of games that they got going on. We talk about a lot. They need a series of games they got to win. AD even mentioned we got to put a string of games together.
Yep.
This is the perfect opportunity to keep doing and keep rolling, because everything has motivation for you to move on. I know you're probably saying, we're professional athletes. We don't need motivation. Sometimes you need every little motivation you can do to spark you. And I think right now, these teams that are here in your face right now are the perfect starter-uppers for you to go on a 8, 9, 10 game run.
And we know that that's what they want to do, because you heard, to your point, Anthony Davis say that the other night. We can put a string of games together, wins together, because as they're trying to build this chemistry, it starts with the big 3. I think over the last handful of games, we've seen them start to peak and start to see what they're capable of, all getting their best shots with one another. But you got to do it while winning games.
Yeah, you got to win games. And, what they need to do, and I'm sure they feel this, is they got to make a statement to the rest of the league. Look, because everybody's looking at him now like, oh, no, was Westbrook a good choice, or all this, doubt. And it's only, early December. So I know they want to make a strong statement, move up in the standings, beat some really good teams, over 500, some playoff teams perhaps, and then, going into the new year, they're right where they want to be. I think that's what they need to do. They want to make a statement and say, okay, y'all don't think we're as good as we think we are. We're getting ready to show you here in these next 7 to 8 games and going into January.
They can make a believer out of it.
And it's not a winning streak until you win at least 3, right?
I say 10. I'm saying
Wow,
10.
high
I say at
standard.
least 7.
The guy that
I say
also
at
wanted
least 7.
the guy that okay, and we've got Bergen in our ear saying 18. Well, then there's that. The Lakers and Clippers tip off at 7 right here on Spectrum Sportsnet. For the latest on tonight's matchup, let's get you live to Staples Center. Lakers reporter Mike Trudell is standing by. Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome downtown, Allie and gentlemen. So, look, Allie, this has been the thing this year where I have to ask a bunch of questions about who's playing and who's not.